Chloe Connolly, a 32-year-old new mom, had a negative parking experience that would really stick with her. Having given birth to her son Avery just 5 months earlier, she was eager to get out of the house one day and run some errands. She was a bit intimidated at the prospect of going to the store with Avery. After all, she was a new mom and hadn't had much practice juggling baby, stroller, and shopping cart on her own. It turns out, it did not go as smoothly as she had hoped. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. What's more, Chloe was still recovering from the cesarean section she had, so she really wasn't in great shape to take on this challenge. Fortunately, Chloe's Aunt Sandra was more than happy to come along so she could help Chloe and get to spend a bit of family time with her new great-nephew. With Aunt Sandra, Chloe felt a lot more confident about the trip. She knew her aunt would be helpful and felt less anxious about something going wrong. The three of them loaded up the car and headed out to shop, blissfully unaware that the day would soon turn into a pretty unpleasant experience. Running out to do errands is something many people take for granted. And it's true. Most of us are lucky enough to be able to drive to the store, park, walk in, do what needs to be done, and come back to load the car without any hassle. But that's not the case for everyone. But there are many types of people for whom just a simple trip to the store can be a lot more complicated, especially in the parking lot. This new mother experienced it firsthand when she returned to her car to find a rather unpleasant note on her windshield. Little did she know her story would soon go viral. When the three arrived at Tesco, a British supermarket chain, they soon found a space located conveniently close to the store entrance, designated for parents with children. As Chloe definitely fits the bill for deserving the space, they parked in the spot and proceeded to unload the baby in his seat, along with the wheels that attached to the seat to make up the stroller. With no idea of what was about to happen, they entered the store for what should have been a perfectly routine shopping trip. The two set about gathering everything Chloe needed at Tesco, with Auntie Sandra helping out by pushing little Avery's stroller to free Chloe to grab everything she needed. Chloe was excited to have Auntie Sandra beside her and found herself quickly getting into a comfortable swing while shopping. That's when they noticed something. Before they knew it, Chloe had gone a bit overboard and bought way more groceries than she had anticipated. The two wondered how they would manage to juggle everything, so they came up with a plan. Chloe would stay back with Avery, and Sandra would bring all the bags to the car and come back to meet them. The plan seemed foolproof and allowed both ladies to take a break from shopping. Nobody thought much could go wrong with this plan, and Sandra headed out to the car on her own with a giant cart full of groceries. But once she approached the vehicle, she noticed a stressed-out-looking woman in her car, following her back to the spot. It seemed that this lady was looking for a parking space, had spotted Sandra coming out of the store, and had followed her in order to grab her spot quickly once it was free. Sandra could tell the woman wanted her spot, but she had no clue how intense the confrontation would become. As the woman saw Sandra going to her car in a reserved parent's spot, she called out to her and demanded to know where her child was. And if she didn't have children, why was she taking up a parking spot that was meant for parents? Sandra, who already had enough on her hands dealing with all the grocery bags, tried to explain the situation. When going to the grocery store with a child or two, suddenly, what seemed like a quick shopping trip can turn into a complicated dance involving car seats, strollers, and shopping carts. Not to mention baby bags, and of course, all your purchases. In the UK, unlike in the United States, special priority parking spaces are given to parents with children to help with this scenario. And these spots are a hotbed of controversy. For one, unlike handicapped spaces in the US, There are no official tags that parents can put on their cars to indicate that they can rightfully park in these designated child-friendly spots. And because the spots are closer to the store and wider than the average parking spot, to make loading and unloading easier and safer, they are the equivalent of parking lot gold. Many people without kids often use and abuse this convenience intended for parents, which, quite understandably, makes parents angry. Sandra told the woman that, in fact, there was a mom and baby using this car, but they were inside waiting for her. They hadn't finished their shopping yet, so they wouldn't be leaving the space anytime soon. The explanation seemed simple enough, so Sandra was shocked by the woman's reaction. The woman complained that she had been circling the parking lot for a long time and couldn't find anywhere to park. But Sandra knew she had a perfectly legitimate claim to the parking spot and informed the woman that she was sorry. But the spot wouldn't be freeing up anytime soon. This was when things got even more upsetting. That's when things got a bit out of control. The woman broke down and began to cry, accusing Sandra of lying about Chloe and Avery being inside the store just to keep her convenient parking spot. The tirade went on for a few minutes, and Sandra could feel herself getting upset too. But what would she do? Even though this accusation from a complete stranger would have been enough to make anyone lose patience, Sandra kept her cool. She could tell this woman was under pressure, so instead of telling her off, she pointed to a few free parking spaces that were close by. But would this be enough? The parking spaces weren't designated for parents, but there was enough room for the woman to be able to get out of her car with her child. Although she would have to walk a bit further, Sandra thought it was a good enough solution to the problem. And since the woman said nothing further, Sandra made her next move. She finished packing the car and walked back in to meet Chloe and Avery, not giving the incident a second thought. After all, it was just a parking spot, and she had done a nice thing by helping a woman who had been rude to her. Once Sandra found Chloe and Avery, they decided to go grab a bite to eat for lunch. Sandra casually mentioned to Chloe what had happened with the woman in the parking lot, but the two easily brushed it off and enjoyed their meal together. It was just a parking space, right? They assumed the woman would be long gone by now. But little did they know, the angry parking lot woman hadn't finished her business with them yet, as they would soon find out. Sandra, Chloe, and Avery finished their errands and returned to the car to find an unpleasant surprise stuck under the windshield wiper. It was a note, and it had been left by the angry lady from before. But what else could the woman want from Sandra? The note was short and clearly scribbled in anger. It was clear the woman had decided that she didn't believe Sandra's story and had to let her know. She had looked in the car and had seen no car seat, so assumed that Sandra had been lying. Unlike Aunt Sandra, who had been calm up until that moment, her niece, Chloe, was totally furious. It wasn't enough that some total stranger had to make a scene over the one parking spot that she thought she deserved when there had been plenty of other parking spaces. No, the woman had done something even worse to her. She had harassed her favorite aunt and called her a liar, and then had the gall to leave this note. She really couldn't believe how obnoxious people could be, and she hated seeing her nice, helpful Aunt Sandra so distraught and offended when she had only been trying to help. Now, Sandra hadn't been lying. She doesn't have children and has never even used a parent parking space in her life. Sandra had started out her day excited to be helping her niece, and now she was being falsely accused by a complete stranger. She was distraught and wanted to put it all behind her. Furthermore, Chloe was appalled that someone could judge her sweet aunt and suspect her of the worst, when she had been going the extra mile to be helpful to Chloe. Chloe decided that if this woman couldn't let it go, then neither would she. She wouldn't tolerate her aunt being treated rudely or being unfairly accused of something that just wasn't true. Claire took to a Manchester family page on Facebook to set the record straight and take a stand against parking lot bullies. She also hoped that this woman would see the post and realize she had made an incredibly rude mistake. Furious, she posted a picture of the note on her windshield with the caption, "Claire went on to summarize the events that had occurred." But Claire wasn't done. She knew someone as stubborn as the woman would need proof that Claire wasn't lying, and so she came up with a plan. She posted a picture of the car seat in the car to prove to the woman, if she saw the post, that she had been in the wrong. Apparently, Claire was determined that the woman realized just how severely she had misjudged Sandra by accusing her of pretending to have a child in the car just so she could keep her parking spot. To clear this was important, and she would not have it happen any other way. Things had become almost a competitive sport. She tried to understand as she, too, being a new mom, knew the pains it took to get a parking spot in her situation. Of course, being a parent while looking for parking in a jam-packed parking lot can be a pain, especially with the added stresses of time pressure, and perhaps even impatient kids whining in the back seat. And of course, getting a good parking spot can turn into a whirlwind experience, with people doing seemingly anything to avoid the inconvenience of a few extra steps to the building. But where does aggressive parking lot behavior cross the line? Chloe continued to type. Her anger seemed to be increasing as she retold the story to her Facebook community. The post went viral in hours. Claire was shocked at the number of responses. This post seems to have resonated with a lot of people. Hundreds of comments poured in, mostly in support of Claire. It seems she wasn't the only one who's had such an encounter with a parking spot bully. One particular comment stood out to her. The comment read, "But did she ever see the post?" Whether Claire's parking lot bully eventually saw the post or not, we might never know. Even if she did, it's doubtful she'd ever come forward, because she'd probably be pretty embarrassed about unfairly jumping to conclusions about perfectly innocent strangers, as well as crying over a parking space. Although we don't know for sure, we do hope she learned a lesson. We hope she at least sees Claire's post and will think twice before behaving this way next time. And as for Claire, she will just have to be satisfied knowing that thousands of Facebook commenters are on her side. Thank you for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscription, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming stories.